A person that ticks every single box completely doesn't exist. There is no human in the world that you will 100% absolutely love and not disagree with and be completely satisfied with as a whole.
But the big thing about writing a list about what you want is why. Why do you want it? Why do you want someone who is cocky? Why do you want someone who has bravado or is like the center of attention?
I'm 28 and have never been in a relationship. A couple of years ago, I wrote a list of my ideal man: ambitious, funny, chatty, reliable, etc., etc. So when I was dating, I wouldn't entertain anyone that wasn't right for me. I was being very intentional. I'm in the early stages of dating someone and he ticks everything off the list. He's really great. I feel safe with him and my friends absolutely love him. There's just one small thing that's niggling at me, and in the grand scheme of things, it's really not major, especially as he ticks everything else off the list. But as I haven't been in a relationship before, I'm still figuring it all out. I always pictured myself with someone being the center of their friend group, someone that can dominate a room. In a sense, I guess a bit cocky. But this guy isn't really like that. That's not to say he's not confident, but I suppose it looks different to how I envisioned it. I realize I'm overthinking and doubting, and it doesn't help that we only see each other once a month. We live far away from each other. But any thoughts or advice?
I mean, I think it's good to get intentional with what you want in a relationship.
But not that
Absolutely,
intentional.
But like that's way too intentional. Like that's too specific around. I mean, maybe if that is something that's really important to you, I would question how important is it and does it sit above things like feeling safe, being treated well, being, given respect, having someone who's funny and ticks literally every single other box that you've given.
But isn't dominant in the room.
Which people can be dominant and be incredible people at the same time. But sometimes people who are the most dominant or the most like, look at me person in that friendship group may not have all the other qualities that you desire as well. They may be someone who you end up finding and encountering other problems with because they like to be the center of attention. They need more XYZ. Now, I'm not saying that that means that every single person who's like that is a problem.
No, but also sometimes, Laura, people that are the center of attention and quite dominant in a room are actually not as confident in their private life, like in themselves. Sometimes that is a cover and a front. We see that a lot.
Totally. Or it could be someone who displays all those characteristics and actually there's someone who loves external validation, and that's part of the reason why they're so bravado in all these other situations. And then you run into the issue of them needing validation from other people beyond your relationship. I don't know. I think getting down into the granular nitty-gritty of your expectations in a partner, there's a fine line. It can be really tricky because on one hand, and I know we have said it before, set your intentions, create a list around like what it is that you want in a person. But I think that there is a point where you become too specific and you become almost like you build a human that doesn't exist. And if you don't entertain anybody else that sits outside of that like very specific criteria, you're never going to meet anyone that meets every single thing that you need.
At the end of the day, if that is so important to you, then maybe the person is not for you. But what I do want to say is that a person that ticks every single box completely doesn't exist. There is no human in the world that you will 100% absolutely love and not disagree with and be completely satisfied with as a whole. Like, they don't exist, and I want to say you don't want them to exist. What a boring existence it would be to have two humans who worship the ground that we walk on. We don't have any disagreements. It just doesn't exist. It's not a thing. And I don't want you to go and shut out this person who you've said is incredible and sounds like he ticks all those wonderful foundation building blocks that you need for a relationship just because he's not walking into a room being the life of the party. Like,
do you also think, Britt, that like, and this is like a condition I think some of us experience, some people are chronic overthinkers. And so even when things are good, their brain will try and find something that's wrong. Like their brain will try and find, well, what's the thing that I can do to pick this apart? And it turns into, it kind of goes into a bit of an area of like potential self-sabotage. I think I don't want to like give a specific example, but I definitely have friends who always look for the negative in the situation that they're in. And that can be really exhausting. You know, if you're quite happy and everything else is great, I think always looking for like, well, what's that one thing that hasn't fulfilled me is going to leave you feeling a place of being ungrateful in life rather than focusing on all the things that he does that's amazing and is giving you what you wanted out of a relationship.
I also want to say that sometimes life doesn't pan out. Most of the time it doesn't pan out how we envision it. Like you've said, you envisioned someone that was cockier. I envisioned a multimillionaire with a yacht. Sometimes it doesn't work out.
I was like, I'm pretty sure Ben's close.
No, no, definitely not. But like, even in my own relationship, I could say the same thing. I always thought I would be with somebody that was like the life of the party and really funny. And Ben he's really quiet and shy. Like, he's really reserved. Thank fuck in hindsight, because he's got me, like somebody that talks underwater. But it sounds to me like you are maybe self-sabotaging a little bit, because if somebody treats you exactly how you want them to be and is everything else you want in a relationship, and if that really is the only aspect is that cockiness in a group, I wouldn't be calling it a red flag. I wouldn't be calling it quits on this relationship yet, and I wouldn't be overthinking it. I would just be seeing where the relationship goes. You probably do need to try to see each other more than once, especially while you're getting to know each other. Maybe if it's still early days, maybe he's still being a little bit reserved as well when you're there. Maybe he's still trying to woo you and win you over and doesn't want to be too much, or whatever that factor is. But he sounds pretty great.
I don't know. I also think, like, and tell me what you think, Britt. I'm trying to think through every single person I know or every relationship I've been in where I've dated someone who is overtly, and I use the word cocky, like real bravado, and I you know, like the most dominant guy, an
I don't
alpha,
like it.
you know, they've always ended up being a bit of a dick. Like, they've always ended up being problematic. Someone who has like cheated on their girlfriends, cheated on me, or just like not treated women 100% in a way that's like respectful. There is something about that type of bravado that isn't necessarily conducive for a great relationship or for someone who is a great character in other ways. I want to be really careful, because I'm not saying that every single person who's like confident and an alpha is necessarily a bad person. But I think a sense of cockiness, like overt cockiness, is definitely not a characteristic that I would write down as an admirable or desirable characteristic in my partner.
Yeah, but everyone's different. And I guess that's what you've got to think at the end of the day. You've written your list of what you want, which is great. We love that.
Yes, but the big thing about writing a list about what you want is why. Why do you want it? Why do you want someone who is cocky? Why do you want someone who has bravado or is like the center of attention? And I think if you don't have a good reason for the why that's important to you, then I don't necessarily think the list is working in your favor.
Yeah, look, I think it's silly. This is what I'll say. I think that if you're going to have doubts about this relationship because of only that one factor, and that's all that we have to go off right now because that's what you've written in, I think that that's silly. I think you should embrace the relationship and embrace the important qualities of feeling safe, friends love you, have fun together. That is far more important. If you date for a little while and it doesn't work out, that's okay as well. But you're asking us if putting so much weight on this one aspect of dominating a room and he's not what you thought he would be when he's with his friends group, then no, I think that that's silly. I think you need to ride this out, bury that insecurity, maybe think if you're trying to self-sabotage. I've been there, did it to all my past relationships, and just maybe embrace it for what it is. No one is going to fit your mold 100%.